Hello everyone, welcome to the channel of MediaMark Weather. It's great to have you here with me. We are talking about a lot of activity that we're going to be watching across the Caribbean, Bahamas, Caribbean islands, Central America over the next week or two. We could be looking at our next tropical, maybe a subtropical storm into next week. It's crazy we're even talking about this, but especially the Caribbean region here, we're going to continue to watch this because we may have something come out of this as we go out here in time. And we'll take a look at the weather pattern for North America and your tropics from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Let's get into it. So starting off here with the European model, and then we'll progress over towards the GFS momentarily here. We're looking at what's left of Oscar here. It's pretty much had its last advisory. It's got a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity with it, but that's not what we're really going to be focused on here as we head out here in time. What we're looking at here as we head through the 24th into the 25th, we're starting to see a surge in tropical moisture. Now, what's left of Oscar will be coming, extra tropical, obviously, at this point, an extra tropical low into, a synoptic system, and then we're watching our intertropical convergence zone out here. So we just skip ahead into the weekend, into next week, you can start to see what's happening across Central America here. We have a surge in tropical moisture across the Central American area and Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, and eventually the Bahamas here. We're going to be looking at, you can see a tail end of a cold front kind of stuck in this region, a trough here. And that's going to be the focal point as we head through the 27th here into the 28th. You can see a surge in tropical moisture here. And this is where things get a little bit interesting. Obviously, this is not going to be a threat to the Gulf or the southeast coast. We have this massive blocking high up here to the north. This is mainly going to be a Caribbean, Central America, and through the Caribbean islands and Bahamas problem. And as we head through the 29th into the 30th, you start to see what's happening here. A lot of moisture coming together, and we may have some sort of low pressure trying to form here. Now, whether it's a tropical low or a subtropical low remains to be seen, but we're looking at a tremendous amount of rainfall through the Caribbean islands here. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Cuba, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, all through Central America, even the northern coastline here of South America as well. We're looking a little bit rainy here in Trinidad, Tobago, but at this point through the end of the month into the beginning of November, we're looking really big here on moisture across the northern Caribbean islands. And look at this. We do start to see an area of low pressure form, and I'm almost thinking at this point, this looks a little bit subtropical. It's a very large, broad area of low pressure, and it's got a lot of moisture with it. We've got this trough up here to the north, and it's just cycling all this moisture through the Caribbean. So looking at our GFS here, there's that big smattering of showers and thunderstorms. If these thunderstorms were closer to the low-level circulation of Oscar, it would still be a tropical system, a tropical storm, but it's just being sheared apart, and dry air is just entraining into it. So that's what's left of it here. So on the GFS here, we look out, it looks pretty inactive here as we head into your Wednesday, with the exception for what's off the U.S. East Coast. So we have to progress it here towards the 25th into the 26th. We do start to see the shower and thunderstorm activity really crop up across Nicaragua, eastern Honduras, and maybe a few showers up towards Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. This starts to really, unfortunately, I know for a lot of you with these Cancun vacations, it's not working out, unfortunately, because we have these surges of tropical moisture, and it's just going to be one of those deals, again, where we get days of rain and thunderstorms. So that's terrible for your vacation plans. But look at this. As we head into the 28th and to the 29th, look at the tremendous deep tropical moisture surging across the Caribbean here into the southern Bahamas. This is quite an interesting scenario setting up. We do have a tropical wave out here, this southwest of the Cape Verde Islands. We'll keep an eye on that. It's pretty well dry here into the eastern Caribbean islands as we head to the 28th and 29th. Here's the 30th. This is where things really start to become a little more real here. Through the western and southwestern Caribbean, all the way up through the Bahamas and north of Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. Look at this mess. You know something's going to come out of this somewhere. Some sort of low-level circulation may try to spin up out of this, and we'll just zoom in just a tad here. Actually, I'll just zoom out so you can see how big of an area this is. And here it is. GFS has been consistent, as is the European now, with developing some sort of low pressure, whether it be subtropical or tropical remains to be seen. We have plenty of time to watch this. This is out to the 31st. So we're out about 9 days here. But look what starts to happen here. This thing really starts to intensify as it heads towards the island of Hispaniola, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico here. And here's our last frame here. That looks pretty menacing here across the island of Hispaniola. So you see that trough kind of just hanging out here, the focal point for showers and thunderstorm activity. The Caribbean, I'll show you, there's practically no wind shear, high sea surface temperatures. I don't see any reason why there wouldn't be some sort of subtropical or tropical system trying to form the last part of October into the beginning of November. And don't forget, before we continue with more weather coverage here, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe bell notification button so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates. Let's continue. If we take a look at sea surface temperature analysis, it is the Caribbean and Western MDR I'm most concerned about. We're running about anywhere from about 3 to as much as 5 degrees Celsius above average here. So if we take a look at the mid-layer dry air and moist air analysis here, thanks to Tropical Tidbits, you can see as we continue in time, here's what's left. We're going to have Oscar we're going to be talking about here, continuing to wind up into an extra tropical system, that dry air winding in behind it. But all eyes are going to be on this area here. Still crazy we're talking about these big waves coming off the Cape Verde Islands here. But as we continue through next week, here's the weekend, heading on into Sunday the 27th here. Look at this surge of tropical moisture. Let's get that out of the way. Get our little red pencil here. You can see that surge all the way into Central America, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, even up through the Bahamas. This is going to be something, potentially we're going to have to watch here for development. We could be looking at a tropical storm trying to develop next week. It's crazy that we're even talking about that. And look at this, all the way up through Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic, all the way to Cuba and the Bahamas. We're just talking about socked in with heavy tropical moisture. And look at that. We got a big, strong tropical wave out here as we head towards the end of the month. Look what could be trying to form here across the Caribbean. We have 2 areas of low pressure, one of them here across the Central Caribbean. This could actually become some kind of tropical storm or even a subtropical storm here. If we take a look at our European run here as we continue through the rest of the week, there's Oscar winding up into a subtropical low and then extratropical. Lots of dry air here heading through the Caribbean. That is some great news, but look what starts to happen Saturday. It's a little less pronounced on the European, as it usually is. GFS usually goes a little overboard here, but there's that tropical moisture surging up through Central America. A little bit less here on Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, but still, you're going to be getting some showers and thunderstorm action. But look at this, October 31st, the European model's hinting at something subtropical here. So both models are now picking up on something across the Caribbean. If we take a look at our wind shear analysis here, look at this. Through the Caribbean, you're not talking about any wind shear. So it's very hospitable for anything to form as we head through the end of the month here. Here on the European model, nothing's really going to get up here into the Gulf off the southeast coast. It'll just get sheared apart. Even over here towards the Cape Verde Islands, look at this. There's a lot of wind shear, but look at it's completely sheltered here across the Caribbean. And that is where I think something may try to develop into next week. Now, you start to see November 1st here, that wind shear dropping across the north central Caribbean. So that is why this could end up being a little more subtropical in nature. And looking at our Caribbean rainfall totals here, through the rest of the week, it looks pretty light until we get towards the weekend. Look at this, that big tropical wave moving in. We're going to be really surging the moisture here from Nicaragua, Honduras, all the way to Belize here, and the Yucatan and Guatemala inland here. We're going to be looking at 100 to as much as 225 millimeters of rainfall here. We're looking on the order of, say, anywhere from about 4 to as much as 8, 9, some areas 10 inches. Now look at Jamaica here. You're going to be really close to some really heavy rain as we get into early next week. Look at that. The northern northeast coastline here could get close to 100 to 150 millimeters. Look at the southeastern Bahamas up here too. We could be looking at close to 150 millimeters here, about 6 inches on average. And if we look at the Eastern Caribbean here, look at that. Trinidad, Tobago, you're picking up some rainfall anywhere from about 45, 60 millimeters on average here with these tropical waves. Hispaniola getting hit here with what's left of the southern portion of our hurricane here, which is now a tropical storm. And look at that. Next week, yeah, the activity level is going to increase greatly here for the islands. These tropical waves are really going to pick up in intensity here. And moving out to the Western Pacific, this system, Trami here, is basically going to be a big rainmaker. This system's not going to really develop into a typhoon. It's just going to weaken. But one thing as we head through the next 24 to 48 hours in the northern Philippines, we are going to get tremendous rainfall here. And I'm going to show you that rainfall map momentarily here. We're going to get on the excess of 300 to 400 millimeters of rainfall here. So this is going to be a tremendous flooding concern for the Philippines. And this thing is just going to chug agonizingly slow here across the northern Philippines. And then look at this, towards the 26th into the 27th, unfortunately, fortunately for the Philippines, this thing does eventually move away, but unfortunately it's heading towards Vietnam here, and this is where it's going to start to slow down again and become a major flooding and rainmaker. Now, I want to make note, towards the end of the month here, we might be looking at a potential typhoon. This unfortunately looks like it's heading for the southern Japanese islands. But then it does start to get caught up in the westerlies here. You see this cold front up, this trough across Japan, and then our system from Vietnam. Let's just back that up a minute, because it was heading towards Vietnam, and then it starts to move towards the northeast and strengthen. So our system here in Japan might actually miss Japan, and then this next system might meander for days here in the South China Sea. That's something we're going to have to keep a close watch on, because we could be talking about this tropical system for quite some time. Look at this. We head up across much of South Korean Peninsula, Seoul, looking very dry these next couple of weeks. And here we go to the Eastern Pacific. We are looking at Hurricane Christy. This is going to become a major hurricane during the next several days. As we head through the 24th, this thing's going to be booking it. It's likely to become a Category 4 with wind gusts as high as 140 to 160 here, and then move out into the open Pacific, being a massive wave maker here from Southern California down to the Baja and Mexican coastline. And if we take a look at the Western Pacific, rainfall amounts with our tropical system, we're going to be looking at the northern Philippines all the way through Vietnam, South China. Some of these areas in the Philippines could get upwards of 300 to 400 millimeters here. We're getting into danger territory, a foot or two of rain. That is really bad news here. Even all the way up to southern Japan here. Most of South Korea missing out on the heaviest rain. But look at Japan. We could be looking at 100 to as much as 150 millimeters, 4 to 6 inches here. And Derek Rentschler from Lebanon County, Pennsylvania, Coleman's Park, fall foliage, October 22nd. Look at how beautiful the colors are. It is amazing how quickly the fall foliage is coming together across Pennsylvania, New York State, New England. It is on fire this week. And as you can see, look at his photos. Lots of yellows, oranges, and even some reds. And that's contrasting still with some greens as well. So it makes for some nice contrasting going on. Look at that. When the sun angle starts to get a little lower like that, it really starts reflecting off of these yellows and oranges, and it just looks, that's when you get the glow effect, and it's just beautiful. There's some reds as well. These are some really nice captures. Derek Rentschler from the Lebanon County, Pennsylvania area. Look at that. Beautiful oranges. It is just a great time to get out and enjoy it, and we have high pressure that's pretty much in control across much of the East Coast. I myself was definitely out clicking a lot of pictures of this fall foliage this last 5 or 6 days. So look at that beautiful blue sky as the backdrop, contrasting. Look at that tree just on fire with oranges and reds. You can't get much better than this. It's magical here across the Northeast. And as you can see, look at that glow effect as the lower sun angle hitting those leaves. It just looks beautiful across the entire area with all these reds, oranges, and yellows. Nice captures there, Derek. Here's our future radar. Don't forget, I am working on my winter 2024-25 outlook. Hopefully, I'll have that out very soon. It's going to be an interesting winter. There's a lot of conflicting signals. So, as we get into the future radar, we don't have a whole lot to talk about here. We have what's left of Oscar just spinning off the coast, becoming a big synoptic low at this point, extratropical in nature. We do have some showers across South Florida as we head through Wednesday into Thursday, but look at this. We may get a little bit of showery activity at times off the New England coastline with this system. In fact, I want to talk a little bit about this system as we head into Wednesday into Thursday. There is a cold front that's going to be moving through, especially Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday night across the Ohio Valley, Eastern Great Lakes, and up here into Canada. And it could spark off a few showers. One thing you're going to notice, though, is the wind gusts are going to be 25 to 35 miles an hour. So with that temperature change, temperatures dropping to the 50s for highs, yeah, that's going to feel a lot more fall-like, but much more average. And if we take a look, picking up where our future radar left off, there really isn't a lot to talk about. Yeah, what's left of Oscar out here forming a big synoptic system that's pushing off to the northeast. We get a little bit of a system moving through here on the 25th. So as we get towards Friday, maybe some clouds, maybe spark off a few showers here into the early part of the weekend here into parts of the northeast. But high pressure is really going to build in behind it here as we head through Sunday and Monday of next week. You can see not a lot of weather to talk about. Even South Florida getting a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity. We may have one of those inverted trough type things here into parts of the Carolinas to spark off a few showers and thunder showers, but there really isn't a whole lot to talk about synoptically. That high pressure will be continuing to retreat off the North American coastline, though, and that sets us up. Here's October 31st. You can see the backside of this high pressure system. We're going to start to surge some tropical moisture here to the north. This is going to be a potential for severe weather outbreak here. So all the way up into the Ohio Valley, you're going to have to watch out for this. The weather could get quite gusty. But one thing to note, this system will be heading up into Canada, so it'll be taking a lot of energy with it as we head through the 1st of November. And total liquid precipitation amounts here on our European run, it's pretty dry here across much of the east, South Florida, maybe South Jersey there, getting in towards the end of the week, into the weekend. But for the most part, as we get into next week, this is where the moisture will be across the midsection with a very strong front moving in, and then South Florida as well, and maybe a little bit off the Carolina coastline here. And here's our Canadian weather forecast. Don't forget, we got this system moving on across eastern Canada as we continue through Thursday into Friday here into the weekend. Look at that. That's bombing up towards the Canadian Maritimes into northeastern Canada here. Our big system we're going to be watching is this Pacific low pressure moving in a 970 millibar low into British Columbia. That's going to lower those snow levels. Tremendous amounts of rain. We'll get into those rainfall amounts momentarily. But here as we head through the end of the month, 29th and 30th, it's going to be really stormy here across northern Ontario and Quebec. It's because of these low pressures are bombing from the Pacific, and then they propagate their way across the northern plains here into Hudson Bay. And look at that. We may get an opportunity for some rainfall October 31st across southern Ontario and Quebec here. We got a system moving in from the United States. That's going to move up into southern Ontario, and this could bring some very beneficial rain here across southeast Canada. And looking at Canadian rainfall amounts here, it looks pretty dry out west with the exception for coastal British Columbia. But look at up there in northern Ontario and Quebec. That is going to be a really stormy time of it. And then as we get towards the 1st of November, this really starts to solidify across southern Ontario here and Quebec. We'll be looking at rainfall amounts of 40 to 80 millimeters on average here, about 3/4 to 1 3/4 possible. Look at out here on the west coast though, 100 to 200 millimeters likely. And before we continue with more weather, check out these awesome, amazing maps that you won't find anywhere else.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MediaMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
So taking a look at our temperatures here, this is going to watch this cooler air because you're going to have one more day in the 70s here into the Ohio Valley and Northeast. Watch for Thursday. That blast to the east, lots of 50s and 60s here diving in. But look how quickly it warms up behind it. We got 90s down here in Texas. As we head into Friday, October 25th here, look at this warmth surging back into parts of the Ohio Valley, upper 60s and lower 70s. Still holding on to some fall-like temperatures up here into parts of the Northeast. For Saturday, we get a little reinforcing shot of cooler air, 50s and some lower 60s here. Look at the Gulf Coast, though, just baking, still almost summer-like here down here. And look at here, 50s pivoting for Sunday, October 27th here, even some upper 40s here into northern New England. And then look at here into Monday next week. I want to make note of this. Yeah, it's a little cool here in the Appalachians, 50s all the way down to northeast Georgia there and the mountainous terrain. But look at this warmth surging in the midsection of the country. You know that'll be heading east. Extended forecast from our hometown viewers, bring up to Scranton, Upper Susquehanna, River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. As we head through the rest of the week, we have one more day of sunny, nice conditions, so get out there and enjoy it. The winds will be howling out of the southwest, 25 to 30 miles an hour Wednesday. 70s, but look at this Thursday. That cold front blasts through Wednesday night, maybe a few showers and lots of wind down into the 50s for highs all the way through this weekend, and lows will be getting down into the 30s. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MediaMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MediaMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MediaMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.